Well, my friends, we are officially beginning the end game here. We've passed the halfway point and we've entered Unit 3, which is the big one. Before we get into this week's material, I want to remind you of something very important. I wanted to revisit the college-wide late policy that some of you are either not aware of, not happy with, or just ignoring altogether. The English departments of the 4 campuses of Delaware Technical Community College set forth a cohesive late policy which all instructors must follow. For the smaller assignments, also known as the formative assessments, you have up to 48 hours to turn them in for a late penalty of a 10% hit to your final grade for that assignment. And that's 10% of the total points, not 10% of what you've earned. For the larger assignments, also known as the summative assignments, you have up to 1 week to turn it in for a late penalty of 15% hit to your final grade for that assignment. And again, that's 15% of the total points, not 15% of what you've earned. Since I was very clear about this in the very first video you should have watched this semester, I wanted to remind you that this isn't a new policy. Sorry to bring you down so early in the video, but it just needed to be said. Equally, the announcements and the videos that I make each week are not just to make my bosses think I'm working. These are there to make sure that you know what's going on. I try my holy best to ensure that everything you need is available for you. So it's frustrating when I receive assignments that obviously were done without ever considering the samples or the videos or the announcements or anything else I've provided. It's frustrating for me because it makes your grade suffer. So please take 20 minutes on Mondays and just review the video, okay? Take 5 minutes and review the announcement. It'll only help you. Speaking of the announcement, here it is for this week. And as always, I have my little blurbs up here, what you did last week, what you're doing this week. Hey, look, here's the video. Here is the video chapter listing. So if you don't want to go through the whole thing, you can at least say, oh, I want to know what the announcement is. Great. Then we talk about it over here. This is what's coming up. This is what you're going to be doing for the next unit. This is not something you have to worry about immediately, but something that you will have access to, including the sample, which I'll bring up in a little bit. This is the material that you are expected to follow for this week. We've got 4 elements to look at: 1, 2, 3, and 4. One of them is one of them encompasses 2 videos, which I didn't make. And then we have our 2 assignments that are due on this date by this time. Here's the comparative research essay that you have to do, including the sample document that will help you greatly. And if you don't know how to do CSET or you weren't paying attention, you can always look at the document CSET paragraph labeled spanking, which if you look at it, looks just like this. If you watch my videos, you remember that last week I ranted about the different colors, right? Pink and purple. But this should tell you exactly what CSET is, and it should tell you how to put it together. So we talked about it last week. If you want to go back and review that video, you are welcome to do so. But I am attaching this again this week just in case. You also have a smaller assignment for Unit 3. Believe me, once you get done the paper, this one is usually overlooked. It shouldn't be. You're going to lose points if you do, but it's actually relatively easy. Okay? Great. Now that we've gotten all that, excuse me, all that reviewed, let's talk about what's going on this week. As always, if you scroll over to the View the Course Schedule, click on it, you will see this document pop up. Yay! Scroll all the way down to week 6. You can see right here that we are starting Unit 3. And here it is. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 documents to look at, including the sample document that I'm giving you. Again, you do not have to look at this week because of the simple fact that it's not due until way down here in week 10. See? Week 10. But it's there for you to see it. We've got 2 assignments, and we're just going to launch into it because I really don't want this video to be overly long. So let's get to it. By clicking on what is an argumentative research paper, you will get to this page here. It's the first document which shows you, hey, you guessed it, what an argumentative research paper actually is. Now, this is your biggie, folks. It's going to be by far worth the most points of anything this semester. And the first 2 papers that you completed built towards this. It's not due until week 10 again, but it's good to start thinking about it now. So the details that you need pretty much are right here. You can go through this Google slide. It's better than this, what they call it, a thing link, which is ridiculous and stupid and puerile, and I don't know why they put it there other than the fact that somebody thought it was cute. It's worthless. This down here will at least tell you what has to go in here in a small way. But the requirements are what I want you to pay attention to. It's the big mamma jamma at this point. We're going to have 7 to 8 pages of total paper, okay? That does not include APA front and back matter, which would be your title page and your references page. You know, it's got all the different ideas about the formatting here and so forth. It tells you exactly what should go in here: introduction, background, claims, counter-argument, rebuttal, and conclusion. We will talk about that at a different time, I promise. Originally, I was going to go over the document today, but I feel that it's going to be a little bit confusing if we kind of combine Unit 2 and Unit 3. But anyway, all of these are there for you to look at. We will get deeper into what the research paper should entail in the coming weeks, all right? But like the Unit 1 and Unit 2 supplementary material that I've given you, this one will also have 2 or 3 pages of instruction and a full sample to show you formatting, organization, and development of your ideas. You can look at the sample on the announcement again. You can look at the sample right down here, which they've given you a sample. It's not my sample. It's not as good as my sample. I know I sound like the President of the United States by saying that I'm the best, but my sample actually is so much more helpful than these. So anyway, there it is. There we go. So let's talk about this, okay? So it's an argument paper. That's fantastic. But going back, and here's the sample paper, okay, right here. I want to talk about what a classical argument is. So clicking on here, we get to a page that just has 2 videos for you to watch. Yeah, I'm disappointed in this as well. It's not my page. I didn't write it. It's kind of worthless. So please allow me to try to explain what a classical argument is. An argument is not just 2 or more people yelling at each other and throwing things and screaming and just doing all the stuff that reality TV shows us, okay? An argument is a multiple perspective approach to a single topic. It requires support for each side, or else we're looking at a simple assertion, which becomes more the understanding of what you're seeing in front of you right now. It's basically finger poking. I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. There's the poking, there's the yelling, there's the spitting, there's the screaming, there's the name calling. That's what people picture, but that is not an argument. An argument itself features a few key elements that you need to know. An argument always begins with a thesis, the statement that can be proven true or false. Once the statement is put together, then the person stating that thesis has to prove that thesis. It's not just a matter of saying, this is what I believe, so disprove me, because that's actually a logical fallacy known as burden of proof. Remember all those movies and TV shows that you've watched where the scenes took place in the courtroom? The prosecution has to prove their point. They cannot just state an idea and hope that everyone else does the work. Same thing here. Once you state your thesis, you provide solid evidence to break down that thesis into smaller claims that you can use to prove the entire idea. You'll need at least 3 smaller claims to show how your side of the argument is the stronger side. Once you develop your side, then you must be open to the prospect that your opponent, or the other side of the argument if you don't want to view this as an adversarial thing, has at least 1 or 2 good points of their own. So the counter-argument will be their opportunity to illustrate the opposing side to your thesis. Since you're not going to be team writing this paper, you're going to have to do both your argument and the counter argument, which just means that you must be fair and complete with the opposing side. Additionally, you have to support that opposing side, which means showing how, in some cases, your side is a bit weak. Once you go through the counter argument, you can then provide the rebuttal, and this is where that you can show your reader how the counter argument, while possibly having a couple of good points, is nowhere near strong enough to overwhelm your original argument. If it did, you may want to think your original approach. Now, overall, the basics of an argument are pretty similar throughout all the world, and even throughout the last, millennia. A lot of old Greek guys put this stuff together in togas. There's no tablets, no Wikipedia, no ChatGPT. And honestly, we haven't really thought about changing how arguments are done in that time because it's worked so well since a few hundred years BC when it was formalized. Make sense? Okay. The next page, the qualities of a good research question. There it is. It's actually probably one of my favorites of the semester because I don't have an issue with it at all. So if you look through it, it's pretty clear, really. In order to move forward with our paper, we need to have a solid direction for our research, which begins with our research question. So how can we create it? Well, by looking at this page. You can look at it more in depth, but I want you to remember that a good question is not opinion, and it is a good question that can actually be answered using solid research. So here, a research question can be answered in an objective way through research, at least partially for now. So that means that you can't just have a question that you can't answer because the research doesn't exist, okay? So objectively means that everybody should be able to get a similar answer. Your opinions come in later, but you can have actual quantifiable understanding of this through research, okay? So that's going to help there. Number 2, a good research question can be answered using existing information or a collection of information, which means you cannot just assume that humanity is going to find an answer to this question in 1,000 years, so therefore your argument is solid. That's not how it works. You need to have the evidence right now. You can't just say, oh, we have alien neighbors on Mars. We don't know that. We haven't proven that. Science says if you haven't proven it, it doesn't exist. Therefore, science is still trying to prove it, which means it's not real just yet, okay? And finally, a good research question hasn't already been answered or hasn't been answered completely or hasn't been answered for your specific context. Smoking is bad for your health. No kidding. That's already been answered. We already know that. Vaccines don't cause autism. No kidding. We already know that. You can't write an argument paper arguing something that's already been argued. Okay? It's already been proven. So you got to come up with a good research question to actually go beyond this. All right? So really good page for you to look at. Pay attention to it. Ask questions if you need it. Going back, we have the last one, which is research questions and search term tips. There it is. It shows you an easy step to move from your research questions to your claims that you can prove within your argument. As you can see, asking a question, why should violence? Well, that's not really going to be helpful to you. You need to have statements. So why should violence against animals be illegal? Well, animal cruelty should be punished just as harshly as violence done against humans, but they're missing something. They're missing the because clause. Animal cruelty should be punished just as harshly as violence done against humans because, and then add that understanding right there. Here, there are various legal actions that can be taken against those who commit such violence, such as give fact, okay? So look through here. You can take a look and see how EBSCOhost helps you out by giving you subject terms. SIRS does the same thing up here. You can look at viewpoints and critical ideas. So all this material is here for you to look at if you need help with, okay? All right. Granted, that was quite a lot. I knew the video would be a little bit longer. We're already at 15 minutes. So I'm sorry about that. Take a deep breath. We're almost done. Now, like I said at the beginning, we have 2 assignments here. Ah, look, there they are. The Unit 2 paper and the building research questions for the Unit 3 essay. Now, the Unit 2 paper, hey, look, there it is. We've gone through it several times, but I wanted to go over it again one more time to ensure that you don't lose stupid points in formatting. Now, in case you just got offended, stupid points are not points that I take off because I think you are stupid. They are points that when you see why they were taken off, you're going to smack yourself in the head and say, oh my God, I was so stupid. So please make sure to follow requirements and expectations. What are they? Oh my, here they are. Isn't it lovely? It's the document that I've given you. It's linked into the announcement. It's linked into the assignment. It's wherever you need it to be, okay? So right here, please make sure that you pay attention to it. Again, the requirements are 4 to 6 pages. I am not talking about 3.5. I'm talking about a minimum of 4. This does not include the title page or references page. You needed 2 new sources from Unit 1. So you had 2 in Unit 1. You have 2 new sources in Unit 2 that you've already been working with. So that makes it 4 total sources that you've had collectively. You're only going to use the 2 new sources in this paper, though. Make sure that APA formatting standards are followed, which means 12-point Calibri times New Roman, 1-inch margins all around. Make sure that you're matching the structure and the directions that you used in the graphical organizer that you did last week. Third person for the majority of the essay, but first person can be used, which is I, me, my, in the exploratory synthesis paragraph. Do not use second person at all. No you, your, yourself, okay? Now, here's what it looks like. The introduction is going to be a brief introduction, but the last sentence of the paragraph must be your synthesis question. I will always be able to tell who actually gives a damn about what they're doing by this last sentence of the introduction. The vast majority of the people who don't do well in this paper give me a synthesis or a thesis statement because they never ever looked at the requirements. They just figured, oh, I'm going to write this. No, it's a very specific paper. This is not something that I said, oh, well, I wrote it, you have to write it. No, this is a college-wide requirement that actually was created above my head. You have to follow it, okay? Once you get through it, you have an introduction of the background here. You're going to introduce the 2 authors, the 2 titles, the 2 central purposes. You're going to talk about, what about these articles are solid, what are weak, what are some key concepts, all of this material here. Then you're going to have a minimum of 2 paragraphs for the comparing perspectives. This actually comes from the graphical organizer you did 2 weeks ago. You already gave me 3 possible questions that you've asked that both of your sources actually answer. Pick your 2 most, not your 2 most, your 2 strongest. There we go. Your 2 strongest questions and answer them. Just like this, okay? You're going to have 1 paragraph for question 1, 1 paragraph for question 2. Great. Then, probably the most important paragraph of your entire semester, the exploratory synthesis. It can be more than 1 paragraph, but it has to be 1 very well-written paragraph. How do the 2 ideas and articles contribute to your understanding of the issue? Have your thoughts changed? If so, why? If not, why not? What has gone on here? Don't just repeat what the author said. This is about your point of view. So that's why you're going to be using I, me, my, okay? Then you have a short conclusion, which will finish with the answer to your introduction as a statement. So your thesis question in the introduction becomes your thesis statement in the conclusion that you can take with you to Unit 3. That's a lot of information. So what I did for you is I gave you a full sample paper. Again, follow the title page requirements. I can't stress this enough. So many of you just start skipping things. I don't know why. That would be a stupid point, okay? Then we get down here. We have our title, repeated title again. We have our introduction. Hey, look, synthesis question. We have our background information introducing our 2 authors and our 2 titles. Then we get into our comparing perspectives. Our first argument point, and here it is. Our second argument point, and here it is, including a nice long quote here. Remember, a long quote is 40 or more words. It must be formatted just like this. Exploratory synthesis, which again is the most important paragraph of your entire semester. And there it is. I, my, all of that throughout, okay? And then we have a really stubby conclusion. I'm not a big fan of this conclusion. I didn't actually write this conclusion. This was given to me by a colleague, but if it were me, I would actually have a little bit more information in there, but there it is. Then we have our references page with our 2 sources in alphabetical order. G comes before P, and there it is. That's what your paper should look like for this coming week, all right? I can't stress it enough because all the information you need is right here, but this right here is going to help you so much more because it's literally exactly what I'm looking for, okay? Okay. Oh, let's go back to this one. The last one we have is the Building Argumentative Research Paper, Research Questions and Reasons. There we go. Clicking on that, you will see that I gave you a template here, and that was it. Here. And then I give you a sample of what it should look like down here. So what should it look like? This. So I have given you highlighted boxes to show you where I want you to type your material. And honestly, I'm giving you a general topic here. I'm telling you what the thesis question is, which literally you just did for the paper that's submitting this week. So you put the synthesis question in here, the thesis question, and then ask 4 really good research questions about your topic, okay? Then what is your tentative position? Tentative means it can change, all right? So no worries. Reasons for the support. I believe that my position and my argument is strong because I'm having you give me because clauses, 4 of them. Do not say, I believe my position and my argument is strong because I'm really smart. No. I want to know that it's good because, it's effective because, okay? Give me real reasons why you feel the way you do. And then, probably my favorite step of all of these is understanding my audience. I want you to really get who you are writing to. So, how do you feel that most of your class feels about your topic? And guess what? A correct answer to this might actually be, I really don't think my class cares a damn about my topic. Perfectly acceptable and honest. Just explain why. What do you believe that most people think about your topic? By most people, I mean now, what do you think society feels about your topic? And again, you might say, I don't think a lot of people think about it unless they are, okay? You might have a topic that is really geared towards a specific gender or ethnicity or religion or something. Okay, great. Those people will think of it more than other people will. So explain that. What knowledge do you believe that your audience, and back again to your class, possesses in relation to your topic? And you might actually say, I don't think anybody knows about this. That's fine. Explain why. What knowledge do you believe your audience will need to understand this topic? That's important. If they don't know your topic, what are they going to need to know to understand that topic? So this is the sample. I have it all filled out for you. And this one, without the color coding, the blank one, is the one that I want you to fill out, okay? Just literally type in the white boxes here. No worries. Right here, okay? And you should be in really good shape for that. Because honestly, it's an easy assignment to do after you've already done the paper, okay? This was one of those kids shows that I actually really enjoyed watching with my kids because it was kind of fun. Wild Kratts. I don't know if anybody ever watched it, but I loved it. But anyway, that's the video, folks. Just a shade over 3 full pages of script and just under 25 minutes. But it really was a dense video, wasn't it? As for you and your Unit 2 paper, get on it. Have a great week. See ya. and we're all done.